Ms. Irene Quay.
Question 5, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Health Sciences Authority, HSA, sets stringent standards on the quality and safety of medicines sold in Singapore. Before being approved for sale, the medicines are evaluated to ensure that they meet the required international standards of quality, safety, and efficacy. HSA conducts in-depth technical assessments of the scientific data from clinical studies, as well as the manufacturing and quality control processes. In addition, HSA checks that the manufacturers conform to international standards of good manufacturing practice, or GMP. After approval, HSA conducts post-market surveillance, which includes monitoring of global developments and risk-based product sampling and testing for compliance to quality and safety specifications. Products found to be deficient in quality will be withdrawn from the market. Manufacturers are also required to test all batches of medicines to be sold in Singapore, including the levels of specific impurities to ensure that they comply with stipulated standards. Generic medicines are subject to the same strict regime of regulatory controls to ensure their safety, efficacy, and quality. The standards, checks, and processes adopted by HSA are similar to those adopted by regulatory counterparts in other jurisdictions such as Australia, Canada, Europe, Japan, and the United States. HSA's pharmaceutical laboratory is also accredited to international standards, such as the International Organization for Standardization, International Electrotechnical Commission 17025 standard for testing laboratories. It is also a World Health Organization collaborating center for medicines quality assurance. On the 28th of March 2019, HSA recalled 3 brands of medicines which belong to the angiotensin receptor blocker, ARB, class of blood pressure medication and contain the ingredient losartan. Following the recall of several losartan medicines in the United States due to the presence of a nitrosamine impurity, N-nitroso N-methyl-4-aminobutyric acid, or NMBA in short. HSA tested the suspected losartan medicines, and they were found to contain trace amounts of NMBA, which are above the acceptable limit. The routine tests required of the manufacturers are based on known impurities that may be generated during the manufacturing process, and it is not practical to exhaustively test for all types of impurities. In the case of the recalled losartan medicines, testings for nitrosamines like NMBA was not previously part of the testing parameters of ARB medicines, as NMBA was not expected to be generated in the manufacturing process. This approach is similar to those adopted in other countries, including the US, Canada, and the European Union. As the short-term risk of taking the medicine was low, the advisory to affected patients was to continue taking their medicines until they are provided with suitable alternatives. Sudden stopping of their medication could pose greater and more immediate risk to patients' health. Meanwhile, HSA and our public healthcare family work together to reach out to affected patients to facilitate a switch to alternative medicines. HSA tested all locally marketed ARB medicines to ensure that these alternatives do not contain NMBA. Public healthcare institutions then schedule appointments for affected patients to switch to alternative medicines. The institutions also deploy additional staff to operate the hotlines for patient queries and set up service touchpoints to help patients switch their medicines. These actions went beyond what most other countries had done. As of 28th of April, we have helped more than half of the affected patients switch to alternative medicines. For all patients whose appointments are on or after 1st July, Public healthcare institutions have already reached out to all of them to offer earlier appointments. We are on schedule to complete the exercise by end of June this year. Since the recall, HSA has also been working with suppliers and international regulatory agencies to determine the cause of the contamination and to formulate measures to eliminate the nitrosamines in the medium to longer term. HSA will continue to monitor the quality and safety of these medicines to safeguard public health.
Ms. Arinkwe.
SMS, I would like to congratulate MOH for their excellent leadership and planning in this recall of Losartan events, taking an open but calibrated approach to ensure that patients have sufficient unaffected stocks, at the same time avoid panic on the ground such that patients stop taking their antihypertensive. I think this is something the world can learn from us. Just a question for SMS, when are we expecting the stocks to be stabilized so that patients will not be inconvenienced with the current stock restriction policy? Thank you.
We expect the stock of Losartan as well as other ARBs to stabilize from 1st July onwards. And this is based on the current operation of concept whereby affected patients will be restricted to only 1 month's supply and gradually increasing to 2 or even 3 months, the regular practice from 1st July onwards. We would like to reassure all patients that we have sufficient stocks of alternatives as well as Losartans. They are not contaminated with the nitrosamines, and things should go back to normalcy from July onwards.